A trucker found car keys buried 300 feet underground in a mine shaft that was sealed 20 years before the family even owned the car. But that's not the strangest part of this story. The keys were still warm. My name is Marcus, and I've spent the last 15 years investigating cases that don't make sense. Missing persons who vanish without explanation. Families who disappear into thin air, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened to the Martinez family on Highway 89. This story will challenge everything you think you know about disappearances. It will make you question the very nature of reality itself, and by the end, you'll understand why some mysteries are so profound, so impossible, that they change the way we see the world. The Martinez family consisted of 4 people. Miguel, age 42, a mechanic from Phoenix. His wife Elena, 38, a kindergarten teacher. Their daughter Sophia, 16, honor student and aspiring artist. And their son Diego, 12, who loved astronomy and dreamed of becoming a NASA engineer. They were driving from Phoenix to their annual family reunion in Colorado, a trip they'd made every summer for the past 8 years. The same route, the same stops, the same careful planning that Miguel insisted upon. He was the kind of man who checked his tire pressure twice before any long journey, who carried emergency flares and enough water for a week in the desert. On Tuesday, July 15, 2014, at exactly 2:47 p.m., the Martinez family pulled into the Copper Canyon rest stop on Highway 89. Security cameras captured their arrival. Miguel filled the gas tank while Elena took the children to the restroom. Sophia bought a bag of chips from the vending machine. Diego fed crackers to a stray cat by the picnic tables. 12 witnesses saw them there. 12 people who would later give statements to police, describing a normal, happy family taking a routine break during their summer vacation. At 3:47 p.m., exactly 1 hour later, they simply weren't there anymore. Before I tell you how those keys defied the laws of physics, you need to understand what happened on Highway 89 that Tuesday afternoon. Because the Martinez family didn't just disappear. They vanished in a way that shouldn't be possible. The first person to notice something was wrong was Janet Morrison, a retired nurse from Flagstaff. She had been sitting at a picnic table, about 30 feet from where the Martinez family had parked their red Honda Pilot. Janet was eating a sandwich and reading a paperback novel when she heard what she later described as a sound like air being sucked out of a room. She looked up from her book. The red Honda was still there, driver's door open, keys hanging from the ignition. But the family was gone. Not just absent. Gone. As if they had been erased from existence. Janet walked over to the vehicle. The engine was still running. Elena's purse sat on the passenger seat, her wallet visible through the open zipper. Miguel's cell phone lay on the dashboard, the screen showing 17 missed calls from his brother Carlos, who was expecting them in Colorado. In the back seat, Sophia's sketchbook was open to a half-finished drawing of the rest stop. The colored pencils were scattered across the page as if she had been interrupted mid-stroke. Diego's astronomy book lay beside it, bookmarked at a chapter about black holes. Janet called out for them. "Hello? Martinez family?" Her voice echoed across the parking lot, but there was no response. She walked to the restroom where Elena and the children had gone earlier. Empty. She checked the vending machine area where Sophia had bought her chips. Nothing. Other visitors began to notice. A truck driver named Bill Henderson approached the vehicle. "Anybody seen the folks who own this car?" he asked, but nobody had. One moment they were there. The next they weren't. Henderson, a former military police officer, had seen enough strange things in his life to know when something was seriously wrong. He called 911 at 4:23 p.m. The first deputies arrived at 4:45 p.m. Within an hour, the rest stop was swarming with law enforcement. Highway patrol, county sheriff, state police. They interviewed every witness, examined every inch of the parking lot, and reviewed the security footage. That's when things got truly bizarre. The rest stop had 4 security cameras. One pointed at the main parking area, another at the restroom facilities, a third covering the vending machines, and a fourth monitoring the picnic area. All 4 cameras were functioning perfectly that day. All 4 cameras showed the Martinez family arriving at 2:47 p.m., but not one of them showed the family leaving. Detective Sarah Chen was the lead investigator assigned to the case. She had worked missing persons for 12 years and had never encountered anything like this. "It's impossible," she told the press 2 days later. "People don't just vanish into thin air. There has to be a logical explanation." The security footage was analyzed frame by frame. At 3:46 p.m., the family was clearly visible in multiple camera angles. Miguel was leaning against the driver's side of the Honda, talking on his phone. Elena was sitting at a picnic table, watching Diego feed the stray cat. Sophia was walking back from the vending machines, chips in hand. At 3:47 p.m., they were gone. Not a single frame showed them leaving. Not a single camera captured their movement away from the rest stop. One moment they were there, the next moment they weren't. The forensics team found no signs of struggle, no evidence of foul play. The family's belongings remained untouched in the vehicle. Elena's purse contained $347 in cash and her credit cards. Miguel's wallet held $89 and his driver's license. Their suitcases in the back contained clothes for a week-long vacation. Most telling of all, Miguel's cell phone showed no outgoing calls after 3:45 p.m. The last call was to his brother Carlos, lasting 37 seconds. Carlos later told police that Miguel had said they were making good time and would arrive by dinner. The investigation expanded rapidly. Roadblocks were set up on every highway within a 50-mile radius. Search teams combed the surrounding desert. Helicopters scanned the area from above. Search dogs were brought in to follow any possible scent trail. Nothing. It was as if the Martinez family had never existed. The case made national news within 48 hours. "Family vanishes in broad daylight," read the headlines. Television crews descended on the rest stop. Reporters interviewed witnesses, experts, and anyone willing to offer a theory about what might have happened. The theories ranged from abduction to human trafficking to alien encounters. None of them made sense. How do you abduct 4 people in broad daylight from a public rest stop with 12 witnesses and 4 security cameras without anyone noticing? Carlos Martinez, Miguel's brother, drove down from Colorado to coordinate the family's search efforts. He was a successful contractor, used to solving problems through determination and hard work. But this problem defied all logic. "My brother was the most careful man I knew," Carlos told reporters. "He planned everything. He wouldn't just drive off without calling. He wouldn't leave their belongings behind. Something happened to them, and I won't stop looking until I find out what." The FBI was called in after 72 hours. Special Agent David Morrison took over the case from Detective Chen. Morrison was a 20-year veteran who specialized in missing persons cases involving potential abduction. "I've worked cases where families disappeared," Morrison told the media. "But there's always evidence, always a trail. Phone records, credit card usage, witness statements. This case has none of that. It's unlike anything I've ever encountered." The investigation continued for months. Every lead was followed, every theory examined. The family's financial records showed no unusual activity. Their social media accounts remained inactive. Their credit cards were never used. Their cell phones never connected to any tower again. As the months turned into years, the Martinez family became a cold case. The file remained open, but active investigation ceased. The red Honda Pilot was returned to Carlos Martinez, who couldn't bring himself to drive it. Now here's where this story gets truly terrifying. The mine shaft where the keys were found, it was flooded with concrete in 1987. The Martinez family bought their car in 2003. And according to the Geological Survey, there's no way those keys could have gotten there, unless someone put them there before the family was even born. 8 years passed. 8 years of silence, false leads, and fading hope. The Martinez family became another unsolved mystery, filed away in the growing collection of inexplicable disappearances that plague law enforcement agencies across the country. Then came Tuesday, March 23, 2022. Jake Sullivan was a long-haul trucker, 43 years old, divorced, with 2 grown children he rarely saw. He'd been driving trucks for 22 years, crossing the same highways month after month, year after year. He knew every truck stop, every rest area, every scenic pullout between Los Angeles and Denver. Jake was hauling a load of electronics from Phoenix to Salt Lake City when his engine started making a noise he didn't like. It was a grinding sound, metal on metal, the kind of noise that meant expensive repairs if ignored. He pulled over at the first available exit, which happened to be the old mining road about 15 miles east of the Copper Canyon rest stop. The mining road led to the abandoned Esperanza mine, a copper operation that had been shut down since the 1980s. Jake had passed the exit hundreds of times, but had never taken it. There wasn't much up there except old mining equipment and empty buildings. But the road was wide enough for his rig and quiet enough for him to pop the hood and diagnose the problem without the noise of highway traffic. Jake drove about 2 miles up the winding road before pulling over near the main mine entrance. The problem turned out to be a loose belt, easily fixed with tools from his emergency kit. As he worked under the hood, Jake noticed something strange about the mine entrance. According to his CB radio chatter with other truckers, the old mine shafts in this area had been sealed years ago for safety reasons. But this one looked different. The entrance was partially collapsed, with rusted steel beams and concrete barriers blocking most of the opening. But there was a gap, maybe 3 feet wide, where someone could squeeze through if they really wanted to. Jake was curious. He'd always been interested in old mining operations, and he had 45 minutes to kill before his mandatory rest period ended. He grabbed a flashlight from his cab and approached the entrance. The gap was narrow, but Jake was a lean man. He squeezed through the opening and found himself in a tunnel that stretched back into the mountain. The air was stale and cool, with that distinctive mineral smell of old copper mines. About 50 feet into the tunnel, Jake discovered that the main shaft wasn't sealed at all. The concrete barriers were only surface deep, a facade that hid the fact that the mine remained completely accessible. That's when he saw the rope. It was a modern climbing rope, the kind used by spelunkers and rescue teams. It was anchored to a steel beam near the shaft entrance and disappeared down into the darkness below. Jake played his flashlight down the shaft. The beam of light seemed to be swallowed by the depths, but he could see the rope continuing down, down, down. Someone had been down there recently. The rope was in good condition, not weathered or frayed like something that had been exposed to the elements for years. Jake estimated it had been placed within the last few months, maybe even weeks. Professional curiosity got the better of him. Jake had done some recreational rock climbing in his younger days and still carried basic gear in his truck for emergency situations. He had a harness, carabiners, and a backup rope. 30 minutes later, Jake was rappelling down the mine shaft. The descent was longer than he expected. 50 feet, then 100, then 200. The shaft was perfectly vertical, carved through solid rock. His flashlight revealed tool marks on the walls, evidence of the miners who had worked here decades ago. At 280 feet, Jake's flashlight picked up something that shouldn't have been there. A ledge cut into the side of the shaft, and on that ledge, something metallic glinted in the light. Jake anchored himself to the wall and worked his way over to the ledge. What he found there would haunt him for the rest of his life. A set of car keys, Honda keys, with a remote entry fob and a small keychain in the shape of a graduation cap. The keys were sitting on the ledge as if someone had carefully placed them there. But that wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part was that the keys were warm. Not just warm, body temperature warm, as if someone had been holding them moments before Jake arrived. Jake picked up the keys with a trembling hand. The graduation cap keychain had Sophia 2014 engraved on it. Sophia Martinez, the 16-year-old girl who had vanished with her family 8 years earlier from the rest stop 15 miles away. Jake's mind raced. How had these keys gotten here? The mine shaft was 280 feet deep. According to his rough calculations, he was now almost 300 feet below ground level. The shaft was perfectly vertical with no openings except the one he had entered through. More importantly, according to the date stamped on a concrete plug he had seen near the surface, this mine had been officially sealed in 1987. Sophia Martinez would have been 12 years old in 1987. Her family didn't buy their Honda Pilot until 2003. Yet here were her keys, 300 feet underground, in a mine that had supposedly been sealed before the car existed. And they were warm. Jake secured the keys in his pocket and began the long climb back to the surface. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely grip the rope. By the time he reached the top, he was hyperventilating. He sat outside the mine entrance for 20 minutes, trying to process what he had found. Finally, he pulled out his cell phone and called 911. "I need to report a discovery related to the Martinez family disappearance," he told the dispatcher. "I found their car keys." But wait, remember I said the keys were warm? Well, the temperature 300 feet underground is a constant 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Those keys were 98.6 degrees. Body temperature, as if someone had just been holding them. Detective Sarah Chen had been promoted to lieutenant in the 8 years since the Martinez family disappeared. She was now in charge of the Cold Case Division for Maricopa County, overseeing dozens of unsolved missing persons cases. But when the call came in about the car keys, she felt the same chill she had experienced standing in that rest stop parking lot 8 years earlier. Chen drove to the mine site immediately. Jake Sullivan was waiting with 2 highway patrol officers, the car keys secured in an evidence bag. Jake's hands were still shaking as he recounted his discovery. "I've been thinking about it the whole time," Jake told Chen. "How do keys get 300 feet underground in a sealed mine? And why were they warm? The temperature down there is maybe 55 degrees tops. These keys felt like they came out of someone's pocket." Chen examined the evidence bag. The Honda key fob was unmistakable, and the graduation cap keychain with Sophia 2014 was exactly as described in the original missing persons report. But the condition of the keys raised even more questions. They weren't corroded or damaged by 8 years of exposure to underground conditions. They looked almost new, as if they had been placed there recently. The electronic remote still beeped when Chen pressed the button. "This doesn't make sense," Chen muttered, more to herself than to Jake. None of this makes sense. A full forensic team arrived at the mine site within 2 hours. The shaft was declared a crime scene, and a professional rescue team was called in to conduct a thorough search of the underground areas. The team that descended into the mine included 2 forensic specialists, a photographer, and Detective Chen herself. She had rappelled before during search and rescue training and insisted on seeing the discovery site firsthand. At 280 feet down, they found the ledge where Jake had discovered the keys. Forensic specialist Dr. Amanda Rodriguez examined the area with magnifying equipment and UV lights. "There's no dust accumulation where the keys were found," Dr. Rodriguez reported over the radio. "If these keys had been here for years, there would be mineral deposits, dust, maybe even bacterial growth. This ledge is clean, unnaturally clean." The team photographed every inch of the ledge and took samples of the rock and air. They also discovered something Jake had missed in his initial shock: scratches in the rock wall that looked like letters. "Chen, you need to see this," Dr. Rodriguez called out. Etched into the stone wall, about 3 feet above the ledge, were 4 names: Miguel, Elena, Sofia, Diego. Below the names was a date: July 15th, 2014. The date the family had disappeared. The scratches looked fresh, not 8 years old, but recent, as if someone had carved them into the wall within the last few weeks or months. Chen felt a cold sweat despite the stable underground temperature. "Get pictures of everything," she ordered, "and get me a sample of these rock scratches. I want to know how old they are." The team spent 6 hours in the mine shaft, documenting every detail. They found no other evidence, no signs of human presence beyond the keys and the carved names. The shaft continued down another 200 feet before ending in solid rock. Back at the surface, Chen convened an emergency meeting with her team and FBI Special Agent Morrison, who had worked the original case. The evidence was spread out on a table in the mobile command unit. "Let's go through what we know," Chen began. The Martinez family disappeared from the Copper Canyon rest stop on July 15th, 2014. Their car keys were found 8 years later in a mine shaft that was supposedly sealed in 1987. The keys show no signs of aging or environmental damage. They were found at body temperature, 98.6 degrees, despite being 300 feet underground where the ambient temperature is 55 degrees. Agent Morrison studied the photographs of the carved names. "And someone etched their names and the date of their disappearance into the wall, recently based on the forensic analysis." "Here's what I can't figure out," Dr. Rodriguez interjected. "Carbon dating of the rock samples around the carved names suggests the etching was done approximately 6 months ago. But that's impossible. No one knew about this mine shaft. It's been sealed for decades." Chen pulled up the geological survey on her laptop. According to county records, the Esperanza mine was permanently sealed on November 3, 1987. The main shaft was filled with concrete to a depth of 50 feet. But when our team went down, there was no concrete. The shaft was completely clear. "Could the records be wrong?" Morrison asked. "That's what I thought initially, but I called the construction company that did the sealing work. Hendricks Construction, still in business in Phoenix. I spoke to Bill Hendricks Jr., whose father supervised the 1987 operation. He has photographs of the concrete pour. This mine was definitely sealed." Dr. Rodriguez spread out her analysis reports. "I tested the concrete samples from near the surface. They match the composition of concrete used in the 1980s. But here's the thing. The concrete shows stress fractures consistent with being broken apart and removed recently." "Someone unsealed the mine?" Morrison asked. That's the only logical explanation, but it would have taken heavy equipment, explosives maybe. We're talking about removing 50 feet of solid concrete from a vertical shaft. It's not a job you do quietly or quickly. Chen felt the familiar frustration of a case that defied logic. So someone went to enormous effort to unseal a mine shaft, placed 8-year-old car keys 300 feet underground at body temperature, carved the family's names into the wall, and then, what? Just left? Unless, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly, the keys were never down there for 8 years. Unless someone just put them there. The implication hung in the air like smoke. If someone had recently placed the keys in the mine, it meant one of two things. Either someone had been holding on to the Martinez family's car keys for 8 years, or, "We need to check something," Chen said suddenly. She pulled out her cell phone and called the evidence room at headquarters. "This is Lieutenant Chen. I need you to check the Martinez family evidence. Specifically, I need to know if we still have their car keys." The response came back 15 minutes later. The Martinez family's car keys were still in evidence storage, where they had been for 8 years. The keys Jake found in the mine were identical, but they were not the same keys. The discovery of duplicate keys changed everything. Chen's team now faced a mystery that seemed to violate the basic laws of reality. How do you have two identical sets of keys for the same car? How do you duplicate a personalized keychain that was made specifically for Sofia Martinez's 2014 graduation? Chen ordered a complete forensic analysis of both sets of keys. The results came back 3 days later, and they only deepened the mystery. The keys from evidence storage showed normal wear patterns consistent with 2 years of use before the family's disappearance. Microscopic scratches, slight wear on the buttons, the kind of aging you'd expect from keys that had been used regularly. The keys from the mine showed different wear patterns. They appeared to have been used for a longer period, with more extensive scratching and button wear. According to the forensic analysis, the mine keys had been used approximately 6 years longer than the evidence keys. But that was impossible. The Martinez family had only owned the car for 2 years before they disappeared. Yet somehow there was a set of keys that showed 8 years of wear. Dr. Rodriguez presented her findings to the team with obvious confusion. It's as if these keys continued to be used after the family disappeared. But that's impossible because we had their keys in evidence storage. "Could they be duplicates made by someone else?" Morrison asked. "That's what I thought initially. But look at this." Dr. Rodriguez displayed a microscopic photograph on her laptop. The serial numbers etched inside both key fobs are identical, exact matches. According to Honda, each key fob has a unique serial number that can't be duplicated. It's impossible to have 2 keys with the same serial number. Chen stared at the photographs. So we have 2 sets of identical keys, with identical serial numbers, but different wear patterns. One set that stopped being used in 2014, and another set that was used continuously until recently. "There's something else," Dr. Rodriguez continued. "I found traces of skin cells on the mine keys. Fresh skin cells, less than a week old. DNA analysis is still pending, but someone has been handling these keys very recently." The DNA results came back 2 days later. The skin cells belong to Sofia Martinez. What I'm about to show you next is the security footage from the rest stop. The timestamp shows 3:47 p.m., the exact moment the family disappeared. But look carefully at the background. Do you see that figure standing by the abandoned mine entrance? The one that shouldn't exist? Chen read the report 3 times before the implications fully sank in. Sofia Martinez, who had been 16 years old when she disappeared 8 years ago, had apparently been handling car keys in the last week of March 2022. "This is impossible," Chen said to Morrison during their emergency meeting. Sophia Martinez would be 24 years old now, assuming she's still alive. But these DNA results suggest she's been using these keys recently. Chen decided to take a step that she had been avoiding. She returned to the rest stop where the family had disappeared. She needed to see the crime scene again, to look for something they might have missed 8 years earlier. The Copper Canyon rest stop hadn't changed much. Same picnic tables, same vending machines, same restroom facilities. Chen walked through the parking area, trying to visualize that Tuesday afternoon in 2014. She was studying the sight lines from the security cameras when she noticed something that hadn't been in the original investigation files. In the distance, maybe 2 miles away, she could see the entrance to the old mining road. Chen pulled out the case files and checked the security camera footage from July 15th, 2014. She had watched this footage dozens of times over the years, but she had always focused on the Martinez family. Now she looked at the background. At 3:47 p.m., the exact moment the family disappeared from view, there was a small figure visible on the distant mining road. Chen enhanced the image as much as possible, but the distance and resolution made identification impossible. But the figure appeared to be waving. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. She called Dr. Rodriguez and asked her to bring the most advanced image enhancement equipment available. 3 hours later, they had the clearest possible version of the security footage. The figure on the mining road was small, possibly a child or young person. The enhancement revealed one more detail that made Chen's blood run cold. The figure was wearing what appeared to be a graduation cap. Chen immediately assembled a team to return to the mine. If there was any possibility that Sophia Martinez was somehow connected to the recent placement of the keys, they needed to search the entire underground complex. The expanded search took 2 full days. Using advanced ground-penetrating radar and professional spelunking equipment, the team mapped every tunnel and chamber in the abandoned mine. In a chamber 400 feet underground, they made a discovery that would haunt everyone involved for the rest of their lives. It was a living space, not elaborate but clearly designed for long-term habitation. There were sleeping bags, camping equipment, cases of bottled water, and canned food. The food was recent, with expiration dates extending into 2023. Most disturbing of all, there were personal items belonging to the Martinez family. Miguel's wallet with his driver's license and credit cards, Elena's purse containing family photographs, Diego's astronomy books, Sophia's art supplies. But the items weren't 8 years old. They looked recently used, well-maintained, as if the family had been living there. On a makeshift table made from mining equipment, Chen found Sophia's sketchbook, the same one that had been in the car at the rest stop, but it now contained dozens of new drawings, all dated from 2014 to 2022. 8 years of artwork showing the underground chambers, the mine shafts, and most incredibly, the rest stop as seen from a distance. The final drawing in the sketchbook was dated March 20th, 2022, 3 days before Jake Sullivan found the keys. It showed a figure rappelling down the mine shaft with the words, "Finally someone will find us," written underneath. The Martinez family had 3 children, but in every witness statement, every police report, every missing person poster, something is wrong. The number of family members keeps changing. And that's when investigators realized they weren't just dealing with a disappearance. They were dealing with something that was rewriting reality itself. Chen's discovery of the underground living space should have been the breakthrough that solved the case, but the evidence became increasingly impossible to reconcile with any logical explanation. Food packages in the chamber showed purchase dates spanning from 2014 to 2022. Someone had been regularly restocking supplies for 8 years. DNA samples from the sleeping area, food containers, and personal items all came back with matches to the Martinez family, all 4 members. Recent DNA, not 8 years old. Dad always said it was the strangest contract he ever worked, Hendrik said, spreading photographs across his desk. The pictures showed concrete being poured into the mine shaft. But look at this. He pulled out different photographs, taken the day after the concrete pour. The mine entrance was clear, as if the sealing had never happened. Dad said they poured 50 cubic yards of concrete into that shaft. The next day, it was gone. No sign of it anywhere. Buried in the paperwork, Chen found something that made her blood run cold. The original work order was dated November 3, 1987, but there was an addendum, dated July 15, 2014, the same day the Martinez family disappeared. The addendum read, "Per client request, concrete ceiling to be removed and mine entrance restored to original condition." The client was listed as M. Martinez, Miguel Martinez, who had disappeared that exact day. The signature was Bill Hendrik Sr., but Hendrik Sr. had died in 2009, 5 years before the document was signed. In the deepest chamber, 600 feet underground, Chen found Miguel's notebook. 8 years of daily entries describing life underground, dated from July 15, 2014 to March 2022. Day 1, July 15, 2014. We made it to the mine safely. The surface is no longer safe for us. We'll wait here until it's safe to return. Day 365, July 15, 2015. 1 year underground. Elena thinks we should try to return, but I know it's not safe yet. The final entry was dated March 18, 2022. Someone will find us soon. Sophia left the keys where they'll be discovered. It's time for people to know the truth. Using advanced facial recognition software, Chen compared photographs of the Martinez family from 2014 with enhanced images from the security footage of figures on the mining road. The results were impossible to deny. The figures on the mining road were matches for the Martinez family, but aged by approximately 8 years. The Martinez family that disappeared in 2014 had encountered their future selves on the day they vanished. Chen reconstructed what actually happened. The Martinez family had encountered their future selves at the rest stop. The older versions, who had been living underground for 8 years, had warned them about something that was going to happen on the surface. The older Sophia had given her younger self the car keys and instructions to hide them in the mine where they would eventually be found. But the truth was impossible to reveal. How do you explain that a family traveled 8 years into the past to warn their younger selves? Chen made one final visit to the mine. In the deepest chamber, she found a letter addressed to her personally, written in Sophia's handwriting. Detective Chen, by the time you read this, you'll have discovered the truth about what happened to our family. 8 years ago, we received a warning about something terrible that was going to happen. We were told the only way to save ourselves was to disappear. We've lived underground for 8 years, waiting for it to be safe to return. The danger we were warned about never came, maybe because we weren't there for it to happen to. What we do know is that we can't come back. We've been gone too long. Thank you for not giving up on us. The Martinez family. Chen's final report was classified by the FBI. The official conclusion was that the family had been found safe and requested privacy. Jake Sullivan was debriefed and asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement. He never spoke about his discovery again. Chen was promoted and transferred to a different division. She never worked another missing persons case. The mine was permanently sealed with more concrete than had ever been used in the area. The entire area was declared off-limits. But sometimes, hikers report seeing lights deep underground, sounds of voices echoing from beneath the earth, families that appear at the rest stop, age rapidly, and then disappear. The truth about the Martinez family remains buried 300 feet underground, along with questions about the nature of time, reality, and the lengths people will go to protect the ones they love. Some mysteries are solved, others are simply covered up, and a few, like the case of the Martinez family, are too impossible to solve and too dangerous to ignore. The keys are still warm,